Today I'm going to show a little sort of cheat about making tenons. So tenons were traditionally used by blacksmiths to joint two pieces of metal together. At the moment I'm remaking some old 19th century gates, and there are loads of tenon joints and rivets holding it all together because welding wasn't really a thing. I mean, fire welding was, but not MIG welding. And so that was what they used to do. So it's a very traditional method, and let's just get straight into it. There are loads of ways to make tenon. I'm not saying the way that I use is the correct way, because often it isn't. There are many other ways to do it which are more efficient. For example, if you have a power hammer, you have a bottom die and a top die, they come down, they hit in exactly the same place every time if you have a good power hammer, and so you can create that isolation just on the near edge, of your bottom die. And also, obviously, you can do that in a press and a fly press and whatever you have, or even a guillotine tool. But if you are a beginner, you won't have all of these things, and even a guillotine tool, you need a welder generally to make that, and then all the dies and heat treatment. There's so many extra things, heat treatment of the dies that is, so many extra things that come into it. Whereas this method, literally all that you need is 2 bars. 1 bar goes on the bottom, 1 bar on top. It's basically like your dies of a power hammer, just the edges of your dies of the power hammer. Hit these down into that piece of steel to section it off. Effectively, it's a spring swage, just without the spring. A spring swage would have this, and then it would go down into your hardy hole, which I suppose you can make. They're pretty easy to make. But again, this way is just really simple. And so let's just get on with it. So this is just a 12mm bar. Just create that isolation. Just working all 4 sides pretty evenly, really. So now we can begin to taper that piece out. I want about an 8mm tenon on the end of this bar, which I can then put in the monkey tool and upset it to get a nice square shoulder rather than that rounded edge that we have at the moment. So you do still have to be a little bit accurate there, just so you don't hit that shoulder. Working it into an even octagon. Knocking the octagon down to a 16-sided shape, no idea what that's called, and then rolling it all to make it even round. Now that we have the tenon forged out, I'm going to take this monkey tool, which is effectively just a block of steel with a hole drilled in the end. So the tenon will go in that, and then we can upset it and create a square shoulder rather than the rounded one that we have at the moment, which is caused by those fullers that we use, those bars. And this way we can have a nice clean fit up effectively. So let's do this. So I've just quenched off the bar, so I've got a nice short heat, which we can then begin to upset that tenon. Just go back and dress the side so it's all even, rather than it flaring out. I mean, the flaring out on the end can be quite a stylistic thing if you want it to be that way, be that form. But I quite like having it all, a even cylinder. Well, at least for this. Some things, you will want it to flare out, but for this it's fine. In terms of the tenon, that's it. You can see we've got a nice square shoulder on it there, which then leads into that isolated bit of material, 8mm round, which that'll go through a hole, which we'll do now, and then the end is riveted over, securing it all in place. So we're making the piece which is going to have a hole drifted through it. It's good just to put a little upset into it, just so we've got a bit more width, so that the sides aren't too thin after we've split that hole, basically, and drifted that hole. It doesn't need much, really. To punch the hole in this bar, I'm just going to create a little flat slot. Then I have this very small slot punch, which I'm going to use to create that hole. Just hit once to see if you're lined up. Just take your time when punching a hole. There we go, we're through. So to begin to open this out, I've got a little drift here which is basically a tapered to round and then flattened. So this goes into that slot, and then you see how it's a slot on the end, too round. So it changes the hole from a slot to a round hole. To get this hole to final shape, I've just got a 8mm round drift. Just be careful you don't work it till it goes black, that ring, and let the heat come back into it. This piece now fits in this piece. It's a little bit loose, but I should be able to nip it up just by getting that tenon nice and tight and riveted over. So I'll heat this up, clamp that in the vise, that over the top, rivet it, job's good 'un. That's it. This is just a really quick way, you know, of making a tenon. I'm sure that there are more effective ways to do it, and there are plenty more effective and quicker ways to do it, you know, on a power hammer. I'm sure you can forge your tenon out in a heat, or even with a press, you know, a fly press even, or a hydraulic press, whatever you have really. But this is just a nice simple way to do it with a hand hammer at an anvil without having to be really accurate with a hand hammer. And of course you can make a spring swage or a guillotine tool if you want to, but again that's just more work and more effort. But I'm sure that those are, again, much more effective than just 2 bars. But anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I might do a couple more like this. I don't know, sort of cheats of techniques that I've picked up in my own adventures in blacksmithing. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you soon.